So today we're going to be going through the 30-second sit to stand test. This is a really helpful assessment to help us identify your leg strength, but also your ability to get in and out of the chair, and also help us to identify maybe some exercises that might help improve this if this is something that you struggle with. What we're going to cover off today is the test itself and how to do it, the results and what they might mean, and then some exercises that might be helpful to improve these results over time. So to start with the test, all you'll need is a comfortable chair and a timer to measure the time. When you're ready, you're going to set yourself up, feet shoulder width and arms across your chest. We're going to stand up and sit down as many times as you can in that 30 seconds. At the end of the 30 seconds, we'll take the result and then we'll have a chat about what those results might be. So when you're ready, arms across your chest, get your timer ready. If you need to take a break throughout at any point, you can. The time will continue and we'll just take that end result. So now that you've done the test, what we want to do is identify what that result might mean. Firstly, you want to start with anything to note throughout the test. So if you had any things pop up, like a sore knee, shortness of breath, difficulty towards the end, being able to stand up without holding on to anything, these are just things that we want to make note of in our results. Secondly, we want to look at how many you were able to complete in that time. The way we would do this is we put this in 3 categories. So 0 to 5, 5 to 9, and then 10 plus. When we're looking at 0 to 5, what that might indicate is that you might benefit from using something underneath on top of the chair to help take away a little bit of that range to make it a little bit easier. So what we would use with this is we'd often use a blue pad to pop on the chair. What it does is it just takes away a little bit of the depth so that you're able to get more repetitions in using your legs without compensating too much. What you would do is standing up and sitting down, and you should notice that it's a little bit easier than what it was with that blue foam pad. If you are still struggling with that foam pad, what you can do is have either your walker or a table to push off in front. And what it does is it just helps the legs a little bit by offering a little bit of support. What you want to make sure when you're doing this is that you're not relying on the arms or the table as a result. So we still want to make sure that all the power is coming through our legs to stand up, but it's just that little bit of additional support, so to push off with. If you got results between 5 to 9, what you might find from an exercise standpoint is you might benefit from adding a little bit of weight to the exercise. So what we would use in this scenario is we would pop a dumbbell or anything that's weighted, so you can even use a drink bottle that's filled as a little bit of resistance. And what it's going to do is it's going to increase the intensity a little bit so that your muscles are having to work a little bit harder to help us improve those results. So what you're going to do with the weight is holding it up at the chest, feet shoulder width, so same position, and then standing up and sitting down. So same thing, working through about 6 to 8 repetitions, and you might start with 2 sets and work your way up to that 3rd set with a little rest in between each set. All right, and then have a little break after each. What you might also find helpful adding the weight is if you're someone that's struggling with your body position when you're standing up. So for example, if you are someone that tends to lean back into the chair and struggle to get into that comfortable position to stand up, adding a weight just helps us to put us into a better position that's a lot more efficient to stand up with. So when we're leaning back and trying to stand up, it's a lot harder than if we're feet back and leaning forward and putting ourselves in that more efficient pattern, and then you can stand up a lot easier. So what the weight will do is it'll force us into that position and you can do it a lot more comfortably. Thirdly, if you got results above 10, it's a good indication that your general leg strength is pretty good, that you might benefit from focusing more on single leg strength and side to side. So looking at one leg at a time and challenging it in that way. So what you can use for that is a split squat variation. What you would want to do with the split squat variation is you want to just make sure that you've got something stable to hold on to. So ideally, you need something that's not going to move. So something like a bench to hold on to or a sturdy table is probably your best point to use with this one. If you're finding that holding on one side is still quite challenging, you can even have something on the other side. So you might stand in the middle of your bench where you can hold on both sides. From there, you're going to pop 1 foot forward and 1 foot back and lift your back heel. What we want to make sure is that our feet aren't too narrowed inwards, because when we get to the bottom of this, we're going to find that we're going to be a lot more unbalanced because we've got a bit more of a narrow base of support. So you want to go nice and wide, feet wide, and then lifting that back heel. What we're doing with this one is we're aiming for as low as we can, working our way towards getting down to the ground. You just want to make sure that whatever range you do get down to, that you can get back up. So if getting down to the floor means that you're going to struggle to be able to use your legs to push yourself up, and you might either have to pull on the chair or you might struggle to get back up, what you want to do is pick a range that's comfortable that you can use your legs, because we want to make sure with all these exercises that all the power is coming through our legs, so that we're working those muscles and we're not compensating to make up for a lack of. So feet nice and wide, back heels lifted, and you're holding on to something nice and sturdy. From there, you're lowering that back leg towards the ground, however you feel comfortable, and then coming back up. Same thing, you want to work through 6 to 8 repetitions, and then you'll switch sides. So turning around and bringing your other foot forward and working through the same thing on the other side. Have a little rest in between each set, and then you want to aim for 2 to 3 sets with a break in between. When you're looking at implementing some of these exercises, you want to make sure that you start small, give yourself plenty of rest in between, and build it over time. What we would do from there is you would work through those exercises for a few weeks at a time, and you're increasing a little bit of either the repetition or adding a little bit of weight as they get a little bit easier. And then in about 4 to 6 weeks, what we would look at is doing that test again. So going through your 30-second sit to stand, and you should find that that result's improved a little bit. Or alternatively, if you don't see the number go up, but you notice that you get less shortness of breath, you get less discomfort if you had any in your knee, or you might find that you're just able to do it a lot easier, that's a sign of progression as well. So even though you might still get 8, but you might notice that last time you did it, you had pain towards the end in that left knee, or you were really short of breath towards the end, and then this time you were able to do 8 with minimal discomfort in your knee or no shortness of breath, or it was a lot more tolerable as well. And that's a sign that your muscles have adapted and you've improved, even though the result might not necessarily look the same. That's where those additional notes can help. What the test as well, on top of just looking at your general leg strength, it also helps us to identify if maybe there's some other exercises that we can use to help with any niggles, aches, pains that pop up throughout the test. What we would do from there is we might look at certain isometrics that we have in our exercise library that you can use, and what we would do is select them, find the intensity and the volume that you would need, and just help with managing that pain and discomfort.